Hi everyone, today we're going to go over how to create a 360 photo of a car and a virtual tour of it using this camera, Insta 360 ONE X2. We are using this camera, but most of the Insta 360 cameras should probably work with it. We have other videos that shows how to do it with Ricoh, and we have some videos that would go, if you don't have this, that's okay. We also have other ways that you can just use in a smartphone. In this video, we're going to use in a smartphone. We're going to use an Insta 360 and a monopod that is used to create a sort of a dedicated height with one. With that said, let's get started. So I have Glow3D app open. If you would like to download the app, you can go to app stores. You would need to have a paid subscription account. If you'd like to test the app, please reach out to us from glow3d.com. We'd be happy to set it up for you. I'm going to press plus and I'll say automotive, and the first one is to scan the VIN number. So I'm going to go on the side to scan the VIN number. We have two different kind of VIN number scanning. One is a basic VIN scan and the other one is advanced. The advanced one uses collects more information. The basic one gives the major information like make, model, year, and the advanced one also automatically detects the feature. So if you're doing it professionally, if you're a car dealership, we definitely recommend use the advanced VIN deciphering. You can just activate it in the setting. But if you're just doing it for the photography side of things, then really the basic one is fine. If you are a dealership, stock number would be what you can enter here. And with that said, we will go to next. So this is a very interesting feature. It's good that came up. If you have already the same car with the same VIN number, it's going to actually show you this message. You can do the capture and replace the previous virtual tour. So I'm going to just replace that for now. So it's the SUV. I'm going to select SUV, and now it shows the side view as you see here. So I'm going to go to the side that is giving me the format. I'm going to line it up. So on the top right, you can see the camera type, which I'm going to make it ultra wide because I want to be able to get closer to the camera. So in general, the closer you are with the camera, with a car, if you don't have a lot of room, ultra wide would be a good option. But if you do have a space, we recommend using wide angle in iPhone. And if you have Android, I believe there is called a standard camera because it will make it less perspective. Like look at this with the ultra camera. As you get very close, it actually creates a perspective look, which we don't really want to have that. But as you use wide angle, it doesn't give you that perspective look. But in order to have the entire car in the screen, you need to have being further back. So the standard rule of thumb for, let's say, a typical SUV is that you want to have about 3 normal steps from the car, and at the front and at the back you want to have about 2 normal steps, and that's really all the space you need to use something like an ultra wide to turn around. And if you're using in a standard lens or wide lens in iPhone, you would need to have, let's say, double of that. So you would need, let's say, instead of 2.5, you would need, let's say, 5 steps. And over there, instead of 2 steps, you might need 4 steps to go around. And that's our recommendation. The second item is shutter speed. So shutter speed, you have different options. If you're doing this outdoor, auto is probably a good selection. You could also try that for the indoor photography, but if you see after choosing auto, your indoor photography looks a little bit blurry, that means you have to choose, let's say, either 190. It would be a very good number to choose because that makes the images much sharper. So for now, this is outdoor photography. We just use it on auto. We're using camera type on ultra wide. The other thing that you need to know about this is the middle top icon that is showing the direction that I will be moving, and then the green line. If you notice, when I turn it, it becomes red. That means I'm tilting too much. So you want to try to keep it green, but you don't have to. If it becomes red, that's okay, because we're going to have algorithm that automatically detects it and fix that. With that said, everything seems ready to go. So I'll start capture, 3, 2, 1. And I know I have to move towards left. So as you see, as I'm going around, I'm trying to keep the car, which is the only rule, is to keep the car in center. Don't worry if it is not exactly matching to the middle, or sometimes you get too close to it or too far to it. This is the magic of our software and AI that is going to automatically fix basically all of those. So the only rule is to just try to have the car in the screen. If you have, let's say, part of it is not there, unfortunately you have to remove that frame or redo your capture. And now I have completed this capture. When you go back to the first original spot, it's going to automatically stop the capture. So now I'll get a chance to look at how it is. If it looks a little bit wobbly, don't worry about it. It's going to get automatically fixed. Now I will start exterior. What exterior photos needs to be captured, in what order, these are everything that you can adjust in the setting. We have a separate video that goes into very much of a detail on how the setting works, how you have to set it up. We're going to try to put it somewhere here, as well as in the description, a link for you guys to look at it. I'm not going to get to it because we don't want this video to be too long. So for this purpose, I've just adjusted for about 5 exterior and 5 interior, but in total you can go up to 70 photos of different part of it, of the car, to create that virtual tour. So the first photo is driver open door, so I'll just go follow the instruction. So here I can retake it if I want to. I could adjust the brightness, but I'm happy with the result. So rear seat open door. And I go next. Next is the open hood. And as you see in the photos, all of them on the top right, you could adjust the lens. You could also adjust this lens in the setting, which we highly recommend. As the management go through the initial setup, you can adjust what lens you want for each of these photos. So your technician or even yourself, as you go through the photography, you don't need to keep changing the lens. You know what lens type you want for each one of these photos, and then it just becomes a matter of point and shoot, point and shoot. So for this case, we have a wide angle, which is what I like about this. But let's say if you like ultra wide, this is what you do. Choose. So this is the engine. So we're going to capture this. Next. And now, so this is the part that becomes a little bit time to connect it to the panoramic camera. So I have this camera here. As you see panoramic photos, I'll just say start panoramic photos. So it's asking me, would you like to connect to Insta360 or Ricoh Theta, which is the 2 cameras that we are supporting as an integration. But you can literally use any 360 camera, and you could later on import the image. But these are the 2 most popular ones that we have already added, both on iOS and Android. So now I'm going to turn this on. So this Insta360 has the button on the side. And once it's on, wait a little bit to boot up, a few seconds. Insta360 is what I select, and here it will give me a prompt to join the network, and I would give it join. It says unable to join the network. So for the first time, I'm going to go to setting, go to Wi-Fi, and I will see 1X2 CF9AM3, which is basically this camera. You might have a different number there. Connect, it says no internet connection, which makes sense. This network doesn't have any internet. And now I'm going to go back to app and say reconnect. So the first time that this connects, there is an option that would give you the ability to re-put the password. Once you re-put the password in the app, so you would never need to go back to the Wi-Fi and connect it through the Wi-Fi. So really only the first time that you're using this, you need to connect first through the network, connect to the network of this camera. And when you come here, it will ask you the password. It did not ask me this time because I have actually entered the password. So go through the app, remember that, but you will add it. The password is always 8 number of 8. So it's basically 8 times 8888. Just repeat it 8 times, and that's the password, universal password. Unless you have somehow, or somebody that you got it from have changed the password, but then you have to ask them. But otherwise, if you've bought it new, it should be just 8888. Just repeat it 8 times. So with that said, it's from here, it's very standard. So we selected it. So one point is if you want to determine the front and back, and this is really general for Ricoh cameras as well as Insta360s, where you have the button to capture, which is like this one, is always the back of the camera. And when you have the brand of the camera, in this case Insta360 or Ricoh, is always the front. So our recommendation is obviously front has to be front of the car. So now I'm going to explain why we need the monopod. So the monopod is that when you do the 360 camera, our recommendation have the height to the eyesight. So you want to be somewhere that when the potential buyers is looking at this virtual tour, they will get the feeling of what their eye would see if they're sitting behind the vehicle. So in this case, I'm going to actually lift it up. The way I determine it, I lift it up somewhere around here, but we will always put it on the middle console, somewhere here, as you can see in the image. So I'm gonna open up the base, as you see here. Open up the base, put the front, adjust the height somewhat that it sort of mimics the height of an eye if somebody's sitting. I'll try to sort of center the lines, and that's about it. So what I always try to do is, if I don't want to, even though that we do background removal automatically, but it would be a good idea to be at a spot that is sort of blind, so you're not in the picture, in case you want to keep the background. If you have a nice, beautiful background from the panoramic, you can do it. But we do have an option in the setting where you could activate background removal for the panoramic image. So remove the background. There's no need to cover the car or anything like that. With that said, I'm going to start capturing. So just press capture, and it is in process. Camera is connected, and that's done. Now it takes you to the screen where you want to sort of line it up. The most important thing is the steering wheel, so you can like pinch in and out to zoom in. The only important thing is that you really want the center to center, and then the steering wheel and the side. So it doesn't have to be 100% exactly match. And once that is done, I'll press next. And now it's taking me to the rest of the interior photos, which is entertainment center. So one thing is that we typically recommend to have the steering wheel always a straight line, so that when we apply the hotspot, it's important to have at a straight line. But in this case, I'm going to just use a wide angle, and or let's say a dual lens, which is a sort of a standard lens. I would take a photo of the standard. If I wasn't happy, let's say it was blurred because my hand was moving, then I could retake it. Odometer. So steering wheel controls. Headlight switch. So again, like as you see, I'm changing them, but you could really write this down first time. What is the most comfortable camera position, and then in the setting, it will always bring that up. So you don't need to change that, which is a very important step towards making things move very, very fast, which is the eventual goal. So now we're towards the end of the screen. So once you set this up in the first time, I do not see any reason why your staff or yourself would like to change that. So I'll just go very quickly. Private, when it's private, is that it's not going to get published anywhere, and it's going to wait for you to review it, make sure that the virtual tour looks good. If you want to make any adjustment, you do it, and then you could turn it into public. When it's public, means it's ready to sync. And then the effect side is that we typically by default have auto alignment on. That means, like we're gonna fix all the movements of hands and shakings and all of that. And then here you have the virtual turntable, which you see on the right side. You could always tap, change the setting, and it will go over the settings of the background. We have a very extensive tutorial about how you can change the background. You could look at that. We're gonna put a card or link here in this screen, as well as a link in the description that if you guys wanna look at that, you could also click and view that. But this video is very quickly tell you how to do the 360 photography. So I'll leave it for a virtual tour. There's an option just to blur the background. Let's just very quickly tap. So that's a sample. And then here you could select what level of blur you would like. You could also choose just a simple white background as well, which is going to make everything white. So our most popular is virtual turntable because it will give the look and feeling of a photo studio with a physical turntable, which improves your company image, improves your customer's company image if you're doing it for a car dealership. And with that said, you just click save. And that's it. It will take about 10 minutes for our AI algorithm and our servers to complete the upload and processing. And as soon as it's done, if you already have the direct integration to your inventory management or to your website, it is going to be live on your website with just 10 minutes, which is one of the biggest advantages of our software. It's really zero post-processing. You just walk around, spend about 5 minutes. If you're using panoramic camera, that probably comes around 10 minutes. But once you're done with that, there is no other action to take. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're putting about weekly videos about tips and tricks on car photography, 360 car photography, and how to create virtual tours of cars. So don't forget to subscribe and come back to us and like this video. Also add any question you have as a comment and would be more than happy to respond, or you can directly email us at support@glow3d.com. With that said, have a good day.